Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our online virtual open house. Tonight, we will be talking about our Master of Education in Special Education, our graduate certificates in autism spectrum disorders, and applied behavior analysis.
I'm Jodi Duke. I am the academic program coordinator for the Autism graduate program at Mason, and am happy to be here with everyone. So thanks for joining tonight. It'll be great to tell you a little bit about our programs and to answer any questions that you all have. And what else? I've been at Mason since 2008. It's been a little while. And I also coordinate our general education, special education program, general access. And so this is a wonderful program that I'm excited to talk with everyone about. And my research area of focus is examining supports and services for autistic students who are leaving the secondary ed and going into post-secondary life, and specifically looking at college supports, which works well as someone working at Mason. Chris?
Hi, I think I have her settled. I'm Dr. Chris Barthold. I am the academic program coordinator for the Applied Behavior Analysis program. I've been at Mason since 2014, and my area of focus, well, I have two, is interventions with individuals with disability, but also working in health, wellness, and fitness.
Next slide. So again, thank you all for attending our virtual open house. There's a couple of different ways that you can choose to participate tonight. The first one would be the chat instructions. So as you can see in the little bubble, in your control panel at the bottom of the window, you're going to click chat for the chat window to appear, and then you're going to go ahead and insert your message. You could also raise your hand. Once you raise your hand in the webinar control, we'll go ahead and prompt you. We'll go ahead and give you the opportunity to speak. And of course, we will need to unmute you. And the last one is the questions. So there's going to be a Q&A in your webinar control to get access to the Q&A window. Towards the end of our presentation, if we do not, or if we're not able to answer your questions during the middle of the virtual open house, we will definitely get to your questions towards the end. And then meet our wonderful presenters, Dr. Jodi Duke and Dr. Christine Barthold. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Who would I love to hand this over to, Dr. Duke or Dr. Barthold?
Sure. Yeah. I think we already told you a little bit about ourselves. And so as we go tonight, I'll talk about the autism program and Dr. Barthold will talk about the ABA program, and that way you have an opportunity to learn a little bit about each.
Perfect. Go ahead. Next slide.
Maybe the next slide. Yeah. So I think I'll just take a few of these, Dr. Barthold, and then I'll throw it to you. How's that? So, our special education program here at Mason is unique for many different reasons, but we like to highlight just a few as we start to tell you about the opportunities here. So the first is that we are designed to be a part-time program. The format is part-time, and yet we really work hard to offer you what we call like an immersive student experience. So we, first of all, acknowledge that everyone is coming into these programs with very full adult lives. And so that's important. We know that you have work and family commitments and a lot of things happening. So our goal is to really make the programs as accessible to you as possible. And that looks different for each program. And we'll talk through that this evening and as we talk about the delivery. But it is still very important to us to have a rigorous program, a high quality program. You can see here we're ranked number 7 for online special ed programs in the US. And we work really hard to maintain that ranking. So you will still have full-time professors. We are all full-time Mason professionals. You will have some adjunct faculty who we hire in our programs as well. They are part-time professors, and we hire them in order to keep our field, the current field practices available to you all, and make sure that you have a mix of us who are working in higher ed and those who are working and engaged in the field. And so I think that's one of the big pieces about the immersive experience. Each of our programs offers different ways of sort of exploring the practical applications of the theory that you'll learn. And so we'll talk about that as we go on also, but I think that also lends itself to that immersive idea of really just making sure that even though we know you're doing this part-time, you're engaged and you have a lot of opportunities for growth and learning. Dr. Barthold?
Thank you. Yes, I think Dr. Duke covered most of it here. That both programs really work very hard to make sure that you have a high quality experience in the ABA arena. We're preparing you to take and pass the Behavior Analyst Certification Board exam. We are a verified course sequence with the Association for Behavior Analysis International. And this is very much a program where we try to give you a variety of activities and learning experiences to maximize your learning. And so, as Dr. Duke said, we're ranked number 7 for best online special education programs. And I will talk about that. It does say designed to benefit learners with disabilities throughout their entire lives. But the ABA program is really designed to benefit people throughout their entire lives, not just learners with disabilities. And we'll talk a little bit, if you're on the fence between the autism program and the ABA program, what makes us unique, and give you some ideas to help you as you make your decision as to which one is right for you.
Okay.
I can take this one. I'll start first. This is a flexible curriculum, but is chock full of information. If you decide that you're going to go for the master's in special education with an emphasis in either ASD or ABA, you'll be required to take these core courses here. Introduction to Special Education, Computer Applications, Universal Design for Learning, that is including people with disabilities into everyday life using designs that really benefit everybody, not just the individuals with disabilities. A research seminar, and a capstone. I'll jump into the ABA track, and then you can jump into the ASD one. Is that okay?
Sounds good. Yes, go for it.
Yes. So ABA does have one extra course. There's 7 courses in the ABA track. They are required by the Behavior Analyst Certification Board. So you start off with the basics, principles, procedures, and philosophy. So you get a good foundation there. Then you'll go to empirical basis, is your course where you're going to learn about behavior analysis research designs. We are a data heavy field. So you'll learn about data collection, how to analyze data, all those types of things. EDSE 622 we'll talk about a little bit later. It is my absolute favorite. And that is where you're going to learn about basic research and studies that involve rats and pigeons and humans. Assessments and intervention, that's where you're going to learn how to do functional assessment and plan interventions for your learners. Applications, I tend to call that the kitchen sink course because we cover all kinds of stuff in that course. We cover we we cover applications for individuals with disabilities. We also cover stuff about organizational behavior management, which is the application of behavior analysis to organizations and business. Verbal behaviors, kind of self-explanatory, and then you'll have an ethics course as well. That's if you take the ABA track. And Dr. Duke, what happens if you do the ASD track?
Great. So we have 6 courses on our track, and the first one actually, in order of how we roll you through, is EDSE 634. So we introduce you to the characteristics of individuals, autistic individuals, and that class does a lot of examination of the DSM-5 diagnostic criteria, the different levels of autism diagnosis, and then going through each of the areas of the characteristics, social, behavioral, communication. You then go into 620, which is a class I teach and love, which is supporting the behavior and sensory needs. And that one is exactly what it sounds like. We dig into behavior. We use some of the principles of ABA for this course. So you do get a little bit, but definitely a very different way of looking at behavior in terms of positive behavior change, and then what are some of the sensory needs of autistic individuals, and how can we build in sensory supports to our behavior work. And then 635 is an intervention course that each week you examine a different domain or skill area and an evidence-based practice within that domain. So we look at everything from video modeling for independence to social narratives for social interaction. And each week you get, I always tell students, we're filling your toolbox there. You just get all these tools that are grounded in research and found to be effective. EDSE 636 is the communication and literacy course. This one's really important for a number of reasons, but we dig into a lot of the communication needs and interventions, communication devices. This class pairs nicely with EDSC 517, where you start to learn a little bit about some of the different assistive technology. And in our course, we do some augmentative and alternative communication devices here as well. We also do quite a bit on literacy. A lot of autistic individuals are hyperlexic, so they decode the words really well. They can read the words, but they don't always comprehend very, very well. And so we spend time on practices and strategies to address that. 637 is one of the courses that makes our program unique, which is that we have a lifespan focus. And so we are going to take you in this course all the way from birth through aging. And there's a module on each sort of phase of life. And in each module, you look at some of the different areas of need, some of the things that in terms of resources, interventions, and in your own region or area, you will then do an examination looking at supports, resources, services, so that you are equipped to kind of help advocate and support in your own communities. And then the final course in our program is our newest course, which is Issues in Assessment and Intersectionality. So in this course, we go into much more depth about the assessment and evaluation process, looking at different areas of assessment. Again, that social, behavioral, communication, those domains come into play. And then we also examine what we talk about as intersectionality. So we are finding that any other identity that a person has intersects with autism and changes their life experience with autism. We have a very high rate of autistic individuals who identify as LGBTQ. And so that's one thing that we look at in terms of how does that impact their autistic experiences, and what supports or special considerations can we put into place? Race, ethnicity, all of these different marginalized identities come into play in that course. And I think my favorite part about that course is that that's the course where faculty, we step back a little bit, and we are really working hard to highlight all the autistic voices that are out there in the world. And And so you will just get a lot of experience in that course with videos and blogs and webinars of all different autistic folks who are sharing about their own experiences, which we think is really valuable and important to elevate. So regardless of your track, you have a really comprehensive program. It can be paired well with those master's core courses. And regardless of which one you pick, you will move through sort of as a cohort. So we see the groups stay together, which is really nice also. It allows you to build a nice sense of community with some of your colleagues and peers. So yeah, those are the programs. Should we go on to the next slide?
Sure.
Okay, so the autism spectrum disorders, and if you are choosing a certificate track, which means that you're not going to do a full master's degree, this is something like an add-on certificate. And essentially, we are working to prepare you as a professional to work in just about any field with autistic people. It's funny, when we started this program several years ago, we really expected we would get a lot of educators and service professionals who worked in schools and things like that. But what we have found is that we are working with people from all different occupations. We get a tremendous number of family members who have a loved one with autism and they want to learn about how to support and be an ally for them. So it's been really exciting to see. We have graduates in a range of different fields related to autism, which is wonderful. And actually, I'm seeing now this is 1 in 44, but we're up to 1 in 36, unfortunately. Children are being diagnosed with autism. So you can see what a huge need it is in terms of preparing a professional force who can work with autistic individuals, and not just children, but these children are growing up, they're going to college, they're in the workforce. And we need to make sure that we're creating a world that is autism friendly and educated about autism. Very important. And yeah, the fields, it's just been really amazing as I'm learning more about all of the changes in our field. I'm constantly learning and finding more information. I think one of the coolest developments in the world of autism is that employers are seeking autistic employees. This is something where there are hiring initiatives, there are programs to recruit kids right out of college who are autistic, because the characteristics that we see of being routine driven, perhaps, or being a very detail-oriented thinker. Those are things that are great for jobs. Those are things that are really desirable and when you're looking for employees. And so in our program, we do a really big job of a really big, I think we focus on celebrating autism and looking at this from a strengths-based perspective, which I think is really important. Chris, you want to talk about yours?
Sure. I think this is a good time to kind of talk a little bit about if you're on the fence and you're going, I think I want to do the ABA track, or I'm not sure, maybe I want to do the autism track. I think the best way to talk about the differences between the programs, Dr. Duke did a really nice job of talking about how in depth they get about autism across the lifespan. If you're looking to learn those types of things, if you're looking to learn about autism, interventions with autism, how you can best support people with autism, Dr. Duke's program is the place for you. If you're more interested in learning about the science of behavior and how behavior analysis can be used with multiple populations, you might want the ABA program. The ABA program, we've been very intentional that Dr. Duke's program is where you learn about autism, and our program is where you learn about behavior analysis. We're very intentional that we are going to teach you the basics of all you need to know about behavior analysis. We're also going to start to prepare you for your national boards for the BACB exam. I'll talk a little bit later about why the time is right. If you're thinking about, I don't know if I want to do this, you want to probably do it right now. We are a verified course sequence with the Association for Behavior Analysis International. I think I talked about that a little bit earlier. So we do meet the coursework requirements, not the fieldwork requirements, but the coursework requirements to sit for your national board. So if that credential is something that's important to you, that might be something you want to consider. We are one of the oldest ABA programs designed to meet the BACB standards. There were I wouldn't say lots. There were a few ABA programs before the BACB came around. We're one of the oldest ones to meet those BACB standards. We've been around since, I believe, 2002, and we've been online since 2012. So you can rest assured that we've done this a few times, and that there's always, room for growth. There's always room to learn. And as Dr. Duke said, we're learning right along with you as we are teaching you, because our clients teach us every single day. But if you're looking for a high quality program to prepare you to become a behavior analyst, we are welcome to have you. So that is ABA, and I think we're ready for the next slide.
Sure. If it's okay, Dr. Barthold, I'll take this one because this is one of my former students. So when we were talking about the career outcomes for our different programs, for the autism program, again, we're seeing people from all different areas. This is a quote from an alumni, Beth Felsen, who's in Northern Virginia and owns a private company called Spectrum Transition Coaching. She actually works with high school students and their families, autistic high school students, and supports them as they decide what they're going to do after high school and begin to make that transition. And her work is really cool because it's not just about finding a college or finding a job, but she is really hands-on with engaging with clients and their families and teaching skills and using the interventions that she learned in this program. So everything is in play. So she said the faculty were very engaged with the students and clearly interested in our success. They were very knowledgeable in the subject area, clearly passionate about their field. They were incredibly responsive to questions as well. And this is, in the autism program, we have 3 full-time faculty members, and this is just what we love, and we love to talk about and engage with our students about just about anything. So I was just messaging a former student today who is now a special ed teacher in Fairfax County and was sending me some questions about a student and an IEP they were trying to do. The connections stay strong, and so that's, I think, one of the assets of both of our programs. Probably next slide, I think. There we go. Oh, see, I just totally transitioned and I didn't even know this one was next. But so there are 3 of us in autism. You've met me. Dr. Grace Francis is pictured here. She's an incredible researcher and scholar. Her focus is family professional partnership. So she teaches for us our communication and literacy course, and she teaches the course across the lifespan where you work on resources and services and really how to engage in the community. And then Dr. Lynn Jorgensen is our other faculty member, and she is also currently the director of our Mason Life program. That is a post-secondary program for students with developmental disabilities. And Dr. Jorgensen teaches our characteristics course. And so, you are engaging with all of us. We are full-time at Mason, and we think it's really important that you know who you're going to work with. So each of us has things that we specialize in within the program that we enjoy interacting. Dr. Barthold?
Yes, so we have 5 faculty in ABA, and all of us in the ABA faculty are in practice. So we are practicing behavior analysts at the same time. So we do research, we do teach, but you can rest assured that we're doing the things that we're teaching you to do. Dr. Ted Hoke was the person who actually put this whole program together. So thank you, Ted. And his area of expertise is clinical and mental health applications, especially marriage and family counseling. Dr. Christy Park works in school-based supports. So anything school-related is Dr. Park's really area of expertise. Dr. Lisa Tullo also works in the schools, but she has experience with organizational behavior management. I talked about that a little bit earlier. OBM is the application to businesses and also behavioral-based safety. So keeping people safe on the job as well. And Dr. Kristen Kugel is our newest faculty member, and her area of expertise is early childhood autism.
Next slide.
Ah, my favorite. This slide is really talking a lot about hands-on learning and how we really try to incorporate doing within the online program. So sometimes, we get people think of online programs and they think of watch a video, take a test, watch a video, take a test. That is not how either of our programs are designed. They're designed for you to have hands-on experiences. And in our case, these are two of our simulations. I talked about EDSE 622, where we talk about basic research. And you'll actually work with a virtual rat in an operant chamber. And if you're like, ew, hurry, the rat grows on you eventually. And the rats are actually kind of cute. But you'll run a series of experiments and get experience what it's like to be a basic researcher, but also get that foundational knowledge that you'll be able to take with you as a clinician. And the second one here is a simulation of a functional assessment and a functional analysis, where you'll actually watch these procedures being done, but not only will you watch them, you'll be taking data while you're doing that and actually coming up with a plan for our subject here is named Jen. So you'll be coming up with a plan for Jen. You're also going to be working with other people in your cohort. I think that's really important to know too. We have a number of assignments that require interaction with your peers. When Dr. Duke was talking about, there's ways to get to know people, form study groups, things like that, we've been very intentional about building community in our courses. And there's a number of assignments that do that. Dr. Duke, do you want to talk a little bit about some of your hands-on stuff?
Yes, I think the next slide might actually have our case studies. Let's see.
Should I go to the next slide?
Yes, please. Let's see. If it's not the next one, well, then we'll do it here. Yes, thank you. So we, in the autism program, because there is no field experience associated with this, we have learners from all over the world who engage in our program. We've built it into the program for you. So you will have 4 real autistic people who we followed around for several days with video cameras and full camera crews, and their families and their loved ones, and they themselves were incredibly generous to let us do that. It was a big project. So you'll meet these 4 folks and you will work with them and learn about them through your whole program. You have from the oldest down to the youngest. Allie was a student at George Mason at the time, an autistic student who was studying ABA and actually worked part-time in our Mason Life program. And she takes you to her dorm room, you meet her family, you watch her teaching in the life program. So you really learn a lot about her. Jake is one of my family friends, and Jake is a wonderful young man who's now like in his early 20s, but at the time was in his teens, and actually served as the autism ambassador for Montgomery County in Maryland, and did a lot of work training police officers in how to engage safely with autistic citizens. And he lets you follow him everywhere. We meet the police who work with him and learn about their program. We learn about his incredible biking. He's a cyclist and he loves speed. And so you get to know him quite well. William was next. He was 8 years old at the time and was actually one of a set of triplets. And so you meet his whole family, and his father is also autistic, which gives a nice sort of view of a family dynamic that may come up for you in your professional or personal experiences. And we watched William work with his ABA therapist and play with his sibs and talk with his family and all of that. He's really into Legos, so you get to see a lot of Legos in that one. And then our youngest was Brooke, and Brooke was our youngest and also our individual who had the most significant support needs. She was not functionally verbal, has a lot of aggression and kind of challenging behaviors. And her family was just incredibly open about it all. She was being served at the time in a non-public school placement, and we were able to go and film that. So you really get a sense for her supports, the community supports, what the family's needing, what kind of respite care they have, what some of their safety issues are. And so you engage with these 4 folks across your whole program. That means that when you do an assignment in a communication and literacy course, you're doing it for one of them. In my behavior and sensory course, we focus in, and you get to pick one of them, and their families or they themselves chose a target behavior that they wanted to work on changing in some way, and that's what you actually work on. And so we, just like Dr. Barthold said about ABA, we're giving you this authentic learning experience where no matter what opportunities you have where you are, we'll have you really engage and gaining good experience in the field. All right, next slide. Admissions. All right. I will, do you want me to do this one, or do you want me to take this one?
Actually, do you mind if I take this one? Is that okay?
I would love it.
Okay.
Yes, go for it.
So application wise, for the certificate or the master's degree, whichever one, if you already have a master's degree and you want to do the certificate, that's totally something that you can do. You'll need a bachelor's degree with a minimum 3.0 GPA or equivalent. So if you are, if you have an international degree, there are ways to get that equivalency. To apply, you'll need to have all of your transcripts. You'll need a resume. You'll need 2 letters of recommendation, professional recommendation, and you'll need a personal essay about why you want to be a part of George Mason University. Once you do that, you'll do all of that online. Obviously, there is an application fee that you do have to pay. We will get back to you, and then you'll be talking to our advisors, and you'll be able to get in and get started. I wanted to take this slide really quickly because if you are considering the ABA track, there are some major changes to how to get certified coming down the pike. We are on them. We are working to make sure that that's all taken care of, and that our students are taken care of. But I really think it's important, if you're on the fence and you're like, should I do it now? Should I do it later? I would say apply now. This is the time to apply because these changes are coming up very, very soon. And they require different coursework and all kinds of different things. So if you're going, oh, I'm not so sure if I want to do this or not, I would say apply now, give it a shot, and then we can go from there. But Dr. Duke, did you have anything to add to that?
No, that was wonderful. I think we're good to move on.
I think we're nearing towards the end. So we will take the opportunity, maybe about 5 minutes or so, for some Q&As. And I think we had some questions in the chat but they were all answered
Yeah.
already.
I think we've been trying to answer as we go. Taylor, for the statement, I don't know that there's a word count requirement. I'm not aware of one. So, you know, I would
It's
I
about
would not write 10 pages. That's what I would not do.
it's about 750 to 1,000
Okay,
words.
Yeah,
great.
and there's detailed instructions. This was just kind of an overview. There are detailed instructions when you go in to do the application.
Absolutely. I do have a question from one of our students through a conversation. What advice would you give a student who has never taken an online class? Like, what is the support they should expect from faculty and their peers?
Such a good question. Dr. Barthold, I'll start if that's okay, and then I'll throw to you. So I think although our programs are really distinct and different, the support you get is very similar because we, across our programs, are really focused on connecting with students and building relationships with students. So as I said earlier, you will get to know the full-time faculty at Mason that we've introduced you to in the slides with our photos. And what I always tell students is that we have things set up, but it is up to you to initiate any kind of support that you need. And so in every course in the autism program, there is like a Q&A discussion board where you can post questions, and sometimes your classmates will answer, and every time the instructor will also jump on and give you an answer, but we've put it into a discussion board because everyone's learning from your questions. We also have a thing in there called Cyber Cafe where students just chat with each other. And like right now I'm teaching 638 this summer, and people have been sharing books they've been reading, and I'm taking notes because I haven't read all of them. And so that's a nice way to have support. If you have a disability that's documented, you will want to register through our Office of Disability Services and receive formal accommodations that then you will let each instructor know about, and you will get that as support. And then I would say on an individual basis, anytime that you have a question or something that you need more help with or anything, we want you to ask. So Taylor, I see, don't apologize. It's good. We are here for all the questions. And if we don't get questions, we can't really help you. So it's actually great. And I tell students that all the time. So it might be hopping on Zoom to talk through a concept that you're confused about, or it might be sending me something and I take a look at what you've written, or take a look at, a behavior map that you've made and give you feedback. Feedback is a really formative part of the process too. So getting assignments back with, we're marking them up and annotating them. We're giving you feedback on rubrics. So you're getting a lot of support in a lot of different ways. And it's up to you because we'll support you in any way that is helpful to you. Dr. Barthold mentioned universal design for learning, and that is a big part of both of our programs. And that means that we are offering our instruction and all of our support in individual ways to meet whatever needs you have as learners and kind of as human beings. So if you initiate it, we're there to support you in just about any way. Dr. Barthold, anything else on that one?
Sure. Yeah, our supports as far as support for disability services, support for struggling students, supports for, if you have a crisis in your life, anything like that, are top notch. I really believe I've been at a few universities and I think we really have the best supports, and they are all available to online students. You don't have to come to campus to get them. I would say the biggest piece of advice that I probably would give is you do have to be organized. You do kind of have to be a self-starter in a lot of ways. We provide a lot of supports. We provide assignment checklists. We provide, Q&A boards and things like that. But as far as distributing your work, our classes go by fast. They're 7 to 8 weeks, depending on, summers are 7, and fall and spring are 8 weeks, and that 8 weeks flies by. So being being organized and doing a little bit every day is really the way that you'll be the most successful in these courses. And it looks like Dr. Duke has the Q&A board going here. So I'm going to defer to her on that.
Yeah, I'm trying to answer your guys' questions as they come in. Someone's asking about a hybrid program, classes on campus and online. Is that possible in the ABA program, Dr. Barthold?
Typically only in very rare circumstances. Most of the time people either pick on campus or online. So you can't really mix and match very much.
Yeah. I see a good question from Taylor about the work you're currently doing. And so the autism program would give you a graduate certificate, but in Virginia, there isn't any kind of certification or licensure in autism. If you are interested in being a behavior specialist, you and I can talk a little bit about exactly what you're looking for. If that's what you want to do within a school system, then our program would prepare you well, or even in some other service areas. If you are interested in an ABA behavioral specialist position, that would have to be the ABA program due to the certification requirements. And so if not, the options for career paths for autism are school system, adult services, we see early childhood. So the same work you're talking about with managing behaviors that you enjoy doing, you could do that across in any setting, essentially. That's a huge area of need. In terms of other things, you could have, we see a lot of folks who start up their own companies or who work for other companies who do consult and that kind of thing. Family services, all kinds of different areas of service delivery. Dr. Barthold, I think there was one. Nope, none of these are ABA. I'm looking into all of these. Financial aid. I actually don't know the answer to the financial aid question. Do either of you two, if we have that as an opportunity for grad students?
Absolutely. For the certificate,
okay.
The master's, yes.
Great. And then there's a question about where to submit all of this. And so maybe, yeah, you could take that one. And Mike is asking more about the teaching cohorts and something we can talk about with that. Mike, I think we were talking a little bit about some of the cohorts that we put through our programs. I don't know if that's what you mean. You think that's what we talk about here, Dr. Barthold, or something else?
I think, Mike, if you want to maybe put in a little bit of a clarification here, are you looking to get a teaching certification? Then we might be able to answer that a little bit with a little bit more precision than right now. So, yeah, if you're still here and you want to answer that and say, if you're looking for a teaching certificate? Yes, teaching certification. I am an FCPS employee.
Perfect.
I'm going to throw this to Dr. Duke.
Yeah, I'll take this one because you're asking about both of the programs that I coordinate, but two different ones. So the teaching certification would have to be through our special education master's program. And in that we have two different programs, and I'll put my email in the chat here in a minute and you can email me and I'll direct you to the right folks on that. And in that one, you would be focusing either on students who access the general curriculum or students who access the adapted curriculum. And then that absolutely, if you're being hired as a teacher, a special ed teacher, probably on a provisional license, we work with you and Fairfax County works with you. They cover part of your tuition and we move you through in a cohort, which means you have a group of about 20 of you that do all your coursework together. And we get you through in time to get that provisional licensure checked off and done. And so that's a great program. I'll put my email in the chat and I'm happy to work with you and on some direction. What we do then very often is we see people add on the autism or add on the ABA. And so that's something that you can do either before or after. But if you've already been hired as a teacher, then you're on a timeline for that provisional licensure, and we'll probably need to get you moving on that perhaps first, and then move into autism or ABA as your secondary program. Maggie has a great question here about what school services online students have access to. Everything. You get everything. You are considered a full Mason student. And so if you're in the area, that means that you come to campus, you can get the discount at the bookstore, you can, come on campus and access everything. You get your Mason card, your ID card. If you're international or somewhere outside of the area, then you have access to everything online. I'm super jealous. I don't know about you, Dr. Barthold, but I'm of the age where I used to have to go to the library and like find the little microfiche or Xerox the journal articles. So you will not ever have to do that. You can find all the research articles through our online access to our full library, which is very comprehensive. We even have educational librarians who help you with research if you need it. And we have advisors built in, and we have, all the supports that Mason offers would be open to you.
Yes, and I'm going to actually answer Taylor's question out loud about do you suggest to do in person or online for ABA? Do you have later times available so I can go after work? And is the ABA certificate only at the Fairfax campus? So I was typing the answer, but I'll say it here. The ABA programs on campus and online are comparable. So you're going to get the same education whether you go to campus or you take an online course. The online course, this program is a little bit more concentrated. It moves a little bit faster. So you'd be taking 7-week courses instead of 16-week courses. But as far as, are they different instructionally? That's up to, how you feel about online versus face-to-face. The courses are on the Fairfax campus only. If you decide to do the face-to-face program, and they're usually 7:20 to 10. So if that helps in your decision making.
Dr. Barthold, there's a question here about when the ABA Masters, when those classes would start as well, not certificate.
I have the start dates for the master's and the certificate program. So we are currently accepting applications for the fall term. The start date is going to be August 26th for the online program. We're also accepting applications for spring of 2025. And that is a start date of January 13th.
That sounds so far away, doesn't it? 2025.
It does.
Goodness gracious.
It sounds far away, but believe it or not, it's closer than we think.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And I would say,
yeah.
we're, like I said, we're still working on a lot of things as far as the master's program is concerned and the changes that are required by the BACB. That spring 2025 application, I would say, don't wait for that. Apply now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that we'll be moving things around unless you're interested in taking the extra courses and things that will probably be within that that master's program. Unfortunately, I can't give too many details because that program has not been approved yet. But I will put my email address in as well. And as we get more information, if that's something you're interested in, I'm happy to answer those questions. But if you're here tonight and you're saying, I want to do the ABA program, apply right away so that we can get you started by fall.
Absolutely. So if you are interested in applying, feel free to reach out to me directly. My name is Brianna Prasad. I was so eager to get started. I probably didn't even introduce myself in the beginning. You can contact me at 703-348-5006 or online too at gnu.edu. And of course, at our website for additional information. As I mentioned before, we are accepting applications for the fall term. So you would reach out to me directly. We'll go through the application process, answer any questions that you might have. And if I don't have those answers for you, of course, we'll be able to direct them to our faculty and they will be able to assist you. Do we have anything else to add, Dr. Duke and Dr. Barthold?
Just thank you all. That was a really engaged, session. It was fun to have all the questions and great to sort of meet you online virtually. And please really do reach out because, we're here to answer any questions and we would love the opportunity to work with you. Dr. Barthold?
Thank you so much.
I do see a few more questions. I don't know if you, I want to make sure I answer all of them. One of them was, I have a master's in IT. Are there any books or papers we should go through before we start the master's coursework? And for ABA, I wouldn't necessarily say that there's any books or papers. Although you may want to think a little bit about having some exposure and experience with ABA. There are a lot of jobs and things like that that are around that you could check out and see if this is really right for you. But as far as books and papers, I would definitely say also look at the Behavior Analyst Certification Board website. That is a really important resource. Dr. Duke, do you know of any books, papers that you would recommend before people start your program?
No, I actually, I think what's great about the programs is we don't make any assumptions about what you're coming in with. We have people coming from all different careers and experiences. And so obviously, if you have a passion for autism or you're interested in ABA, then you could certainly do any kind of reading that interests you, but there is no need to feel like you have to study to begin the program. We will start you at the very basic level, and then you'll be doing so much reading once you're in it. Don't worry, there'll be plenty. But I love the question. Dr. Barthold, someone asked on here about applying sooner rather than later, what things are moving around. I think that's related to your the changes coming in ABA.
Yes, and I'm sorry that I'm sounding so vague about this, but it really is because not everything is in place yet. So I don't want to give you information and have it change and you're saying, but you told me this. I would, if you're really interested in the 2027 requirements, I would probably go to the Behavior Analyst Certification Board website, and they will tell you the differences between what you need now versus what you'll need in 2027. How Mason's going to do that is we're still working on that. So that's the part that I don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing just yet, but I will definitely, as soon as we have that information, we will be sharing that with everybody. So you'll be able to get that info. But in the meantime, I would go to the Behavior Analyst Certification Board website and you can take a look at the differences there.
All right, and I think then we've gotten to everything in the Q&A box. And I think we might have done all these. Perfect. Any other questions as we wrap up here?
Thank you for your engagement. This is great. I apologize for the barking dog.
The dog got quiet, so that was great. Yeah, Dr. Barthold is showing her behavior management and behavior skills with her puppy.
I think Taylor might be referring to the admissions representative.
Okay,
so Taylor, if you are, if you need to reach out to us, the phone number is 703-348-5006. 5006.
I just put that in the chat as you said it, so that way people can copy that directly.
So much. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Duke and Dr. Barthold, tonight for joining us. This was a very informative session. And thank you so much for all of our attendees for attending this session as well. Again, my name is Brianna Prasad. Feel free to reach out with any questions and help with the admissions process. Thank you, everyone, and have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.